present. Almost our anniversary, isn't it?
These videos are not for children. If you're a children, then piss off.
Hey there, it's me, your least favorite YouTuber, the Infuso, talking about what just about everyone I know is talking about, a certain deleted scene from a certain Batman movie. And yes, I am talking about the deleted scene from the Batman movie. About a week or so ago, Matt Reeves released a scene that didn't make the final cut of the Batman. A scene that has mystified an entire fandom. Some back and forth banter between this universe's Batman and this universe's Joker. Now, the Joker did make it into the final cut of the Batman, but it was really a blink and you miss it cameo. And him showing up really didn't have any kind of effect on the overall plot or the characters involved in the plot. That scene just seemed like it was there to be seen. It felt like it was thrown in and tacked on just so it could acknowledge the presence of the Joker and reassure movie audiences that the Joker does in fact exist. Actually, that one scene was the one thing from the original cut that I felt should have been cut. Listen, I love Joker just as much as the next guy. Maybe even more so. But here, he just felt entirely out of place. Like the only reason he was brought into the movie's runtime was for fan service. And it seems even more strange that they brought him in like that because this movie already did so much to build up goodwill with an audience. I don't think it was dependent on a character like the Joker showing up. Now compare that to this deleted scene where the Joker actually somehow factors into the plot a little bit. His introduction into the story doesn't feel quite as forced. Now there's a valid reason for audiences to see the Joker. And yet this is the scene that got cut from the movie. Now, as another famous Batman villain once said, we're of two minds on this subject. Because on one hand, personally, I really wish this was included in the final cut of the film. I much rather this scene than the one we wound up getting in the theatrical run. This was a way of getting the Joker involved into the main plot, even if minimally. This scene has purpose, which the final cut Joker scene definitely does not. And some of you might be out there, you obviously don't know what you're talking about. This is all set in place to work up to a sequel, but it's not. It's not. Matt Reeves actually has no plans to use the Joker in the next movie. Apparently, the sequel is scheduled to be a Mr. Freeze flick. So really, that scene in the Batman serves absolutely no purpose whatsoever. And I think it stands out from all the other scenes in the movie because every other scene was crafted in such a way where it was trying to do a whole lot with a little. Each scene was a brick being laid down to properly construct a bridge from plot point A to plot point B. And then that scene just shows up at the end like an unneeded brick. The bridge has already been built and now we have some bricks left over. I think this one-off scene would have been a great way to establish the Joker in the universe without disrupting or disturbing the natural progression of the story with a thoughtless cameo. In the scene that we did get, the Joker didn't really disturb the story, but there was no story left to disturb. And the fact that that's not even a sequel baiting scene, it just makes it feel all the more pointless. It seems like a needless way to shoehorn a character into things that he really didn't need to factor into. Whereas in the deleted scene, the Joker's place in the story makes much more sense. Batman goes to the Joker locked up in Arkham, in the hopes that his twisted perspective will help him with this case. He intended to use the mind of a madman to get inside the mind of another madman. Apparently at this stage in his career, he's completely unaware that not all madness correlates. There's different levels of madness. Like with the Riddler, there's much more method to his madness. Whereas with the Joker, there's much more madness to his madness. Let me just say it now, I love this scene. I like that we really don't get a good look at the guy throughout. It does so much for the scene itself, but it does even more for the character. Since we can't physically see all of him, a lot of his appearance is sort of left up to imagination. This Joker is quite literally shrouded in mystery, just like the Joker in the comics. His facial deformities and scars leave one to wonder what could have caused them. What's their origin? What's this guy's story? Just like one would wonder what the Joker's true origin is. A question that he himself might not be capable of answering. There's so much about this that works, it's kind of heartbreaking to see it not being utilized. Like, as of right now, we're just watching what could have been. And I'm sitting here wondering, why can't it be? Don't even get me started with the performance. This performance is truly unhinged. His speech patterns are all kind of off. He puts weird emphasis on the wrong words and sentences as he's practically slurring through them. It's unsettling, and I don't know whether to make heads or tails of any of it. Which is also, once again, still very much in tone with the character. The Joker is chaos incarnate. And that is exactly how I would describe this performance. I don't know if I can articulate just how bizarre of a choice this is, and just how natural it is in its own absurdity. This was one hell of a first impression for the character, and I'm kinda sad that it wasn't included. Because, like, this is just brave and bold. I can't wait to see more of this actor in the role. So they better not be recasting, otherwise this video is just gonna age very poorly, like the author of said video. And if Warner Brothers makes me look bad, I will make a mean video on them. That's right. That's right. I'm using and abusing my power. I'm not above it. Like I said, this scene is really good, and a big part of me is upset that it wasn't kept in the movie. The back and forth between detective and inmate, from the nature of the conversation that they're having, down to how this is shot, reminds me a lot of Red Dragon or Manhunt. Especially that piece at the end with the Joker psychoanalyzing Batman and getting inside his head. That is Silence of the Lambs if I've ever seen it. And I assure you, I have seen it. Even if the Dark Knight doesn't show it physically in that moment, even though he's not reacting, you can tell that he's somewhat unnerved by this encounter. This scene does a lot in a little amount of time. In under 5 minutes, we get some insight into Batman and the Joker's dynamic in this universe. We get to see Batman's deadliest foe, even if our vision is somewhat obscured to his full face reveal. We get potential motives for the movie's main villain. This one moment does a lot, but that's also part of the problem. This scene does a little bit too much. The Joker correctly guesses and explains the Riddler's motives, even going so far as to assume that he's a fan of Batman's. All things that were later revealed within the movie. All things that were made that much more impactful from not having this scene attached. The Batman is a pretty subtle movie that allows its audience to come to their own conclusions without necessarily guiding them down the right path. Now, in contrast, this one scene is pretty much spoon-feeding its audience, giving them all the answers to their questions before they could even ask them. Had they included this scene, not only would this be an abuse of exposition, but this would also provide fan service that could quite possibly accidentally eclipse the rest of the film. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're probably saying, V, that's a little bit much. But it's not impossible. Look at Gotham. Gotham was a really good show. And then the second that they introduced a potential Joker, their audience decided that he was the real Joker, and that was all they cared about. All in all, I hope this isn't the last we're seeing of this Joker. Because not only is this an out there, outrageously good performance, but this actor also had a believable amount of chemistry with Robert Pattinson. I completely buy this Joker being this Batman's Joker. And I can't say that for every iteration of Batman and the Joker. I don't always see it. Sorry, as much as I like Zack Snyder's Justice League, seeing Jared Leto and Ben Affleck share a screen together it was the one thing that didn't work for me. Ultimately, I would love to see more exchanges from these two actors in these two roles. And hopefully the next one doesn't end up on the cutting room floor. With all that being said, I was your least favorite YouTuber, V Infuso, and I thank you for watching. Hope to see you in the next one.
I am vengeance. I am the night, and that was V Infuso. Just remember, if you're not tuning in, then you're missing out.
So, if you like the words that came out of his mouth hole, and you too would like to become a V-generate, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, nerds!
And if you're not joining the fun, you're in for one bad day. And you know what they say about having one bad day?
Catch him next time. Same bat time. Same bat channel.